This incident happened when I was 18, I'm 22 now and live in San Antonio, Texas. It was my senior year of high school, during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic when everything was shutting down, including my school. While most people were staying home due to quarantine, my friends and I found ourselves going out more than ever. With non-essential businesses closed, there wasn't much to do, but I've always had a passion for urban exploration, especially in haunted places. Even now, I still enjoy it. I'm not someone who scares easily. I've had encounters with homeless individuals, stumbled upon cult activity, and even had a gun pointed at me once. But none of those experiences compared to the eerie and surreal night I'm about to recount. During that period, I started talking to a girl from my high school class named Clarissa. We had just begun dating, but she was adventurous enough to join me for an exploration. I somehow convinced her to visit O.P. Schnabel Park at 3 a.m., a wooded nature reserve in San Antonio. By day, the park is scenic and relatively safe, but at night, it transforms into an unsettling place where even the police monitor the entrances to deter visitors. The park also has a dark history. In 2016, a woman named Lauren Bump was tragically murdered there, and in 2021, a boy exploring the woods was shot. We arrived at the park at 3 a.m. and the atmosphere was unnervingly quiet. The dense trees blocked out most of the moonlight, leaving the surroundings in near total darkness. I prefer not to use a flashlight during these explorations, as it takes time for my eyes to adjust to the dark, and I don't want the light to draw attention. Clarissa and I walked along the main trail for about 15 to 20 minutes. The silence that night was unnatural, adding to the tension. I suggested taking an off-road trail that would lead us back to where my truck was parked, completing a loop rather than retracing our steps. Clarissa agreed, and we turned onto the path. Only a few minutes into the off-road trail, we suddenly heard the sound of a flute playing in the distance. The melody was haunting, its rhythm steady and melodic, yet deeply unsettling. We froze in place, exchanging nervous glances as we tried to determine where it was coming from. The flute seemed to originate from the direction of the main trail, separated from us by about 30 to 50 yards of dense woods. The sound grew louder, closer, as if whoever was playing it was moving toward us. Clarissa was visibly terrified, trembling and muttering prayers under her breath. That's when the severity of the situation dawned on me. While I tried to stay calm, her fear was contagious. I reassured her, promising to protect her, and suggested we run back along the off-road trail. We sprinted about 30 feet when a loud rustling sound stopped us in our tracks. Something big dashed across the trail right in front of us. It could have been a deer or another large animal, but its presence felt unnaturally ominous. Strangely, I didn't hear it approaching or retreating, just the sound of it crossing our path. Fearing whatever was ahead, we turned around and bolted back toward the main trail. To our horror, as we neared the spot where we'd first heard the flute, it started playing again. This time, the tune was louder, sharper, and impossible to pinpoint. It felt as though it surrounded us. Adrenaline took over as we made a split-second decision. It was safer to run down the cement-paved main trail toward the truck rather than risk the dark, isolated off-road path. We sprinted as fast as we could, cutting what should have been a 20-minute walk into a frantic 7-8-minute dash. At one point, we passed a portable toilet, and I was gripped by the irrational fear that someone might be hiding inside. Thankfully, we saw no one, and my truck was the only vehicle in the parking lot. We jumped into the truck, and I drove away as fast as possible. Even after reaching safety, the experience haunted me. I searched online for similar encounters, stories about ghostly flutes, cult rituals, or strange wildlife noises, but found nothing. Clarissa's presence and shared fear validated my experience, yet the unexplained nature of that night still sends chills down my spine. I've explored countless eerie locations since, but I've never encountered anything as inexplicable or terrifying as that night in O.P. Schnabel Park.